Ý. Lố, 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 lố. Ok. Xin chào. Hôm nay là ngày 19 tháng 6 2024. Ờ, mình vừa tắm xong. Và hôm nay trời nó cũng mưa mưa ấy. Nên nó mát mát. Thế là mình tắm xong rồi đánh răng rửa mặt hết sạch sẽ rồi. Mình định là bôi cả... mình sẽ lấy chống ẩm nhá. 5 giây. Năm nay thì mình bắt đầu dùng kem chống nắng, với cả tự dưng có thêm cái này nữa là cái chống ẩm. Chống ẩm cũng như cấp ẩm, cái gì, dưỡng ẩm, dưỡng ẩm cũng như là trị mụn. Cái này thì bôi trước khi đi ngủ, người ta chống nắng thì tất nhiên rồi, trước khi đi làm. Và bởi vì hôm nay mình rửa mặt sớm, bình thường là trước khi đi ngủ mình mới rửa mặt cơ. Rửa mặt sớm nên là thôi, tiện thì bôi luôn. Mình định bôi lúc mà đang chờ vào stream ấy, nhưng mà bận mấy thứ nên quên mất. Kia. Trước khi mình hôm nay trước khi vào buổi stream ấy, mình cũng bắt đầu mở lên để xem là hôm nay sẽ đi xem gì. Nhưng mà mình nhận ra là chưa có chuẩn bị, thực ra chưa có chuẩn bị, mà thực ra có rất là nhiều clip nhưng mà mình xem hết rồi. Nên là cái buổi hôm nay hiện tại mình mới chỉ có một vài clip nhỏ ngắn thôi. Thì trước mắt là mình sẽ xem cái này đi. Trước mắt là mình sẽ xem clip của CNBC về nvidia. Tất nhiên rồi, mình cũng biết sơ sơ là việc là nvidia nó tăng giá trị rất là lớn. Mình nhớ là khoảng lúc cái thông tin update cuối cùng của mình đó là nvidia đứng top 3 có những công ty giá trị lớn nhất thế giới. Nhưng mà không ngờ bây giờ nó tăng hơn cả Apple rồi.
Closes for the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq as nvidia hits a record of its own.
Another day, another record for nvidia.
Clip này mình cũng xem sơ một đoạn rồi. Mình khá bất ngờ khi mà bây giờ nvidia nó 3.000 tỷ.
If you look at when ChatGPT was first announced, that was the fall of 2022.
Còn lúc đấy là nvidia chưa được 500 tỷ đô giá trị. Mà đến bây giờ cứ tính sơ sơ đi là 3.000 tỷ đi, mặc dù ở đây là hơn 3.000 tỷ rồi. Nó tăng 6 lần trong vòng 1 năm rưỡi.
Really fast rise in a very short amount of time.
Apple took 1,793 days, or less than 5 years, to go from a $1 trillion company to a $3 trillion company. NVIDIA says, hold my beer. They did the same thing, 1 to 3 trillion, in less than a year.
When ChatGPT came out, NVIDIA was worth less than $1 trillion. Then 6 months, NVIDIA was worth less than $1 trillion.
ChatGPT mới ra cái đây hơn năm rồi mà nó thay đổi cái công ty nvidia luôn, quá kinh khủng.
Then 6 months, 7 months after ChatGPT, in May of 2023, it hit $1 trillion. And at the time, people were starting to realize that if AI was a gold rush, NVIDIA was the one making the shovels. The NVIDIA craze just never stopped. It hit $2 trillion in February of this year.
It's been an absolute incredible run, but it has been absolutely backstopped by the fundamentals.
6-8 months later, its value has already doubled. And then from 2
trillion... Ủa, sao cái mặt mình nó sao đúng đây? Bình thường nó to nhỉ? À, à, mình đang dùng nhầm cam mẹ ơi, đang dùng cam này. Damn, ủa, nhầm cam, đúng. Từ từ. Từ từ. Ở đây nhà đúng rồi. Ok. Sao nó cứ hơi mờ mờ ta? Rồi mình chỉnh 1080 rồi đấy. Thì nvidia luôn. Rồi, quay lại.
$1 trillion, it only took just over 3 months for it to hit $3 trillion.
3
It's
tháng.
really tough to get to 3
3
trillion.
tháng tăng
That said,
50%.
though, if you're designing the perfect momentum company from scratch, NVIDIA would be it.
They're making a lot of money for each one of the chips they sell. These are very profitable devices.
We see the orders for GB200. We see the orders for the B200. Nothing is slowing down.
There may not be a chip that's really competing or challenging its flagship H100 or the forthcoming GB200, but the competition is coming. Intel talked about its AI accelerator and said it was going to be much, much cheaper than NVIDIA's. Now, there may still be performance questions and that kind of thing, but if it's that much cheaper, everyone's going to take a look at it because it can save them a lot of money. And it's not just Intel. AMD is coming with a GPU. All of the biggest customers, which include Microsoft and Meta and Amazon, they're developing their own chips too. Everyone is looking to save money because these NVIDIA chips are quite pricey.
6 months ago, you'd sometimes hear folks say, well, I like AMD as a comeback kid, and they're going to be kind of second on the wave of the AI crest that NVIDIA started. And I think what we've seen, especially in the last couple of weeks, when you've looked at HPE's results or Dell's results, NVIDIA is really just sucking up the profits and the gross margins in this space to the tune of something like 75%. And others are happy to come along for the ride, hoping to sell other services afterwards, but they are getting the dominant share, so don't mess with success.
So competition is definitely the biggest challenge for NVIDIA. Not only do you have its customers and its rivals, you also have hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions, going into venture investment for new companies that are doing nothing but aiming at NVIDIA's crown.
But here's what I think about the competition. I think NVIDIA will stay ahead. It's a very, very big pie. AMD is a well-regarded company. They will get a slice. But NVIDIA will still stay top dog. Intel is a company, at least on the manufacturing side, that has been the gang that hasn't been able to shoot straight for about 20 years now, Joe. And so I think that they will make a comeback in PC-oriented CPUs, but all their claims about AI, maybe they get there, but I will believe it when I see it.
To keep everything in perspective, NVIDIA's sales, even though they've tripled in the last year, are still far, far short of Microsoft's annual sales and Apple's annual sales. And they have really nice, durable margins too. It's hard to see NVIDIA replacing Apple or Microsoft in the technology ecosystem, but could it take the crown of most valuable US company? Yeah, I think that's possible.
Nvidia stock 100 đô. Mình nhớ là lên nó mới chia lại à? Bây giờ là bao nhiêu? All time high luôn trong vòng 1 tháng qua. Đây là all time high rồi. Market cap Open market cap là 3,3 tỷ. 3,3 nghìn tỷ đô. Dã man. P trên E là 79. VN 79 thì cũng gấp vài lần. Gấp cỡ 3-4 lần đúng không? Dã man nhá. 29.000 revenue 60 tỷ, 60 tỷ. Trong khi đó Apple revenue là bao nhiêu? 90 tỷ hả? Quarter, một quý là 90 tỷ. Còn cái này là revenue billion. Đây là xa Apple nhiều lắm, chưa bằng một quý của Apple. Nhưng mà nói về revenue. Ok. Clip thứ hai, cái này đi xem clip ngắn trước đi. Clip của Danny Jarvis. Vì cái Nikon Z63 này nó mới ra, cho nên là mình nghĩ đây là một cái clip mà Danny tham dự cái event của Nikon.
You can't really be on your skateboard and be thinking about like your bills or your worries or like your homework or what you have to do. I'm a pretty neurotic person and I run really hot, and so it's like no matter what's going on and like how ridiculously complicated the day might have been, when I put my 2 feet on the board and I push, I can really just get back into my own world, calm down. Like, why would you ever not do something that gives you such a fantastic feeling?
Rất là nhiều cảnh close up cũng như là tiếng được design rất là chỉnh chu. Nói đến tiếng thì mình có một clip mà mình muốn xem, tí nữa thì mình sẽ xem.
I like that this board has a square nose and square tail. You know, the popsicle stick, the like general skateboard is round and symmetrical. And I'm pretty symmetrical with this, but I'm square.
Này mát quá.
I like to have fun, you know. For me, skateboarding is a dance. It's a fun little moment where I could just spin around, fall, go this way, go that way, go up, go down, like under, over, whatever I want to do. So, to me, it's always been more of a soul skater. You know, I really relate skateboarding and like what it's done to me in my life as having a direct relationship with my passions. You know, I think that by definition, a passion is something that does impact you the way skateboarding has impacted me and really like infiltrated my mind, my body, and like what I want to do too. So it's like being able to live your passions. Why would you ever not want to continue doing that the rest of your life? So it's like once I pick something up that actually would thrust me into a new world so quickly and so efficiently and so effortlessly, of course I'm going to continue to do it for the rest of my life. And I feel like anyone who can find something that does that same thing to them, I wish that upon them, you know?
Nói đến mic, mình đang dùng đúng từ là thích. Đây để mình mở cái watch later. Nhưng thích thôi, chứ mình biết là mình cũng không cần đâu. Mua một cái mic và mình có một vài cái Mình có một vài cái model rồi. Mình có một vài cái model rồi nhưng mà mình vẫn chưa biết mua cái nào, bởi vì là nó cũng không rẻ, nó phải là từ 1,5 triệu đến 2 triệu. Nên là vừa nãy mình có thấy một cái clip này để xem là những cái model này nó có đúng như nó như nào nhỉ. Bởi vì là thực ra mình vẫn thích cái form giống kiểu mấy cái mic mà người ta livestream hơn là mấy cái mic này nó hơi bị hát hò ấy, mặc dù chất lượng ok.
Greetings, Earthlings. Today I'm back with another edition of the FAQ series. So today I am going to be answering the question of what is the best entry-level podcasting microphone?
Entry level.
What in the world was that?
Về có là cỡ 1 triệu ở 40 đô không? Thì trong một vài tháng nữa mình sẽ cân nhắc.
Oh my god! Who are you?
Coi như là tự thưởng thôi chứ mình biết là mình không cần.
Wait a second. That kind of sounds similar to sponsorship, but that actually reminds me, I did team up with Sweetwater to bring you this video, so if you want to check out all the awesome bundles and deals, including the SM bundles, I won't send them in. But regardless, thank you very much, Sweetwater. The content, which is a $19 XLR Dynamic SM8500 content.
18 á, 20 đô á.
The first selection on the list is the Behringer XM8500, which is a $19
20 đô.
XLR dynamic microphone. Now, because this is an XLR microphone, you will need to pick up a USB audio interface as well, and in order to keep things as cheap as possible, I opted for the Behringer UM2, which is just under $40.
Có một cái hơi lạ này, có tất cả những clip thì mình xem ấy, nói đến cái việc là cái mic XLR, XLR muốn đổi sang USB thì phải cắm vào một cái bộ. Việt Nam thì hay gọi là bộ card. Cái gì? Audio card à? Nhưng mà nước ngoài thì hay người ta gọi là interface. Nhưng mà vấn đề ở chỗ là ở công ty mình có một ông ấy dùng cái mic như vậy, và ông ấy chỉ cần mua một cái dây cỡ 100.000 thôi, đi rồi từ XLR sang USB, cắm trực tiếp vào máy tính luôn.
And it offers an
Nhưng mà cái này chất lượng ok chứ, cái này chất lượng là mình thấy ấn tượng.
XLR microphone input as well as a 1/4 inch instrument input, and it also allows for direct monitoring of what you're recording as well as computer playback. But for this entire segment, you have been hearing the Behringer XM8500 running through the UM2 and then recording direct onto my Mac with no kind of post-processing. Next up on the list is the Samson Q2U, which is both an XLR and a USB dynamic.
Rồi, cái này là cái trong list của mình này. Nhưng mà cái này cỡ 60 đô mà ở Việt Nam bán khoảng 1,9 triệu đến 2,3 triệu.
Microphone, and it'll set you back anywhere between $50 and $70. The thing that's really cool about the Q2U as well as the two upcoming microphones is that it is both an XLR and a USB dynamic microphone, meaning you can buy this microphone and just plug it directly into your computer and be ready to go. It does offer zero latency monitoring, so you can hear what you're saying into the microphone, as well as computer playback. And then as you progress as a podcaster and maybe you want to expand and get some outboard gear like a DBX 286S, or maybe you'll want to add some additional microphones and a mixer, you'll be able to accomplish that with this microphone by using the XLR output without having to buy an entirely new mic. But throughout this entire section, you have been hearing the Q2U in USB mode connected directly to my Mac computer, input gain set at around 50%, and again, I will not do any kind of post-processing. Number 3 on the list is the Audio-Technica ATR2100 USB, which will set you back anywhere between $60 and $80. Again, this is an XLR and USB microphone, so you can just plug this directly into your computer and start recording. Over USB, you do have zero latency monitoring as well as computer playback. And then as you progress, you can upgrade to some outboard gear or a standalone audio interface or mixer. And a really cool feature about these microphones is you can use them in USB mode for Skype calls and then plug in the XLR port at the same time to a portable recorder and use that as an audio backup. But throughout this entire segment, I have been using the ATR2100 USB connected directly to my Mac with the input gain set at 75%. This is how it sounds, and I have not done any kind of post-processing. And lastly on the list, we have the Audio-Technica AT2005 USB, which will set you back around $80. The tone of this microphone is very similar, if not identical, to the ATR2100 USB. It just has an updated look as well as a smoother on-off switch in case you want to use that as a microphone mute button. Now again, this is also an XLR and USB microphone, so if you just want to buy the microphone and plug it directly into your computer, this is the type of sound that you would be expecting. But if down the road you want to upgrade and get some outboard gear, a mixer, an interface, anything, you can just use the XLR port as well, and you don't have one connected direct to any kind of to include my least favorite option for an entry level. Not finished, and I will not do any kind of post-processing to
ngay từ cái này sang cái rẻ tiền, không phải rẻ tiền mà rẻ nhất, trông khác hẳn luôn, nghe khác hẳn luôn.
The audio. Now we're actually not finished quite yet because I also
Nhưng mà mình thấy vẫn ok mà.
Want to include my least favorite option for an entry-level podcaster, and that would be any microphone that's connected directly to your motherboard's 3.5mm microphone input. The reasoning behind this is that the majority of motherboards' built-in sound cards don't have proper shielding, and that leads to interference from all the other components in your computer, adding noise to the recording through that microphone input. Additionally, the microphone preamps built into the motherboard typically aren't very good. For instance, right now I have the Behringer XM8500 running over XLR to 3.5mm cable into the motherboard's microphone input, and my computer's gain is set at 100%, and the microphone boost option is set at plus 20 decibels, and I will still have to add some additional boosting in post. So that is why I almost never recommend connecting a microphone directly to your computer's built-in microphone input, because it sounds bad. Now, I am sure that many of you are wondering why I haven't included such popular recommendations such as
Nghe mấy cái vừa nãy với cái này chắc mình nghĩ sẽ đắt tiền này. Mà chả khác gì nhau cả.
the Blue Yeti, or any other condenser microphones for that matter. And that's because, generally speaking, for podcasting, a dynamic cardioid microphone is going to be a much better option, unless, of course, you do have a well-treated and very quiet room. And a quick explanation of this, and it will lead to some angry comments because this is such a contentious debate area. I've even received conflicting information from different microphone manufacturers, but dynamic microphones typically do a better job at background noise rejection, and they also force you, due to the low sensitivity, to get the microphone closer to your mouth, which will improve the signal-to-noise ratio. So that is why on the entry-level or beginner podcasting microphone list, I have selected 4 cardioid dynamic microphones. All right, and that is going to wrap up for today, but I would love to hear from you in the comments down phones, or do you think I'm an absolute idiot? If you have any questions, leave them down below, and if you...
Hãng này mình chưa nghe bao giờ này. Nhưng mà thử xem giá bao nhiêu. Bán. Ý. 600.000 này, mixer này. 7.8. Được chú. Có hai cái. Thứ nhất ở công ty mình có một ông anh. Ông đấy tên là gì nhỉ? Ơ. Đây, có mã của ông đấy, ông ấy dùng cái mic này khá ngon. Không phải khá ngon, mình thấy nghe rất ok luôn đấy. $700.000 à? Xong ông chỉ cần mua một cái dây chuyền từ XLR sang 3.5 thôi. Sao cạc, cái mình nói là cái sao cạc ấy, thì mới cần sao cạc. Ông một cái đúng cái dây chuyền thôi, nghe rất là ok nhá. Mic này cái form này thì cũng ok. Cùng hãng này thì cái hãng này hãng giá rẻ, nhưng mà nếu mà nghe đến chuyên gia thì mua cái kia luôn, đúng không? Cái này mà rồi mình không thích cái form này lắm. Mình phải mua dây nữa, hình như nó không có dây thì phải. Đấy, ok, mình sẽ nốt cái này lại. Mic chắc 10 hôm 19 tháng 6 năm 24 mic. Đây, còn nếu mà trong trường hợp mà mình kiểu ultimate mic của mình ấy, tất nhiên là cái SM7B rồi, nhưng mà nó cũng thuộc hàng, nếu mà mua một cái gì đấy nó có ok mà dùng được lâu dài ấy, thì cũng không cần thiết phải đến SM7B đâu, dùng cái MV7 này được rồi. 8 triệu. Chính giá của nó là 250, 250 đô. Mình đặt về đi, trong trường hợp mà mình không xách được, đặt về là 37,5 triệu. Trong trường hợp mình xách được về thì có 6 triệu, 6 triệu một cái mic là có thể dùng kiểu trọn đời rồi. Nên khi nào lúc nào rảnh quá thì mới dùng SM7B này thôi. Rồi, bây giờ về cái mic, mình cũng đã có thêm một cái tên. Đây, cái Samsung này, Samsung. Rồi, bây giờ sẽ xem tiếp cái clip này về việc học bốc đầu. Thế là mình vẫn luôn muốn học cái này, cụ thể là năm 2021 thì ở đấy bọn trẻ con ở mình về quê, thì bọn trẻ con bọn đấy nó hay đi xe đạp ở công viên ấy, xong nó bốc đầu rất là nhiều. Mình từng có ý tưởng là mình sẽ mua một cái xe đều đều, rồi mình ra mình nhờ bọn nó chỉ cho mình, vì bọn nó bốc đầu kinh lắm, nó đi bốc đầu đi một đoạn dài luôn. Thế xong rồi gần đây mình cũng thấy mình cũng kiểu mình muốn đi xe máy, nhưng mà mình muốn mình muốn có thể bốc đầu được, nhưng mà nó chỉ là ý tưởng mình chưa làm. Thì tự dưng ông này là anh của Casey Neistat, anh không phải ruột nhưng mà cũng là cùng trong một gia đình, không phải họ mà là cùng cha khác mẹ, Van Neistat luôn này, 49 tuổi, học bốc đầu.
And this episode is about overcoming fear and channeling my sort of crazy compulsion in a positive direction. And thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring this episode. I got super bummed out about 2/3 of the way through making this video, and I credit the skills I learned in therapy with help find that process to appropriate therapist and the
Oh, that was it. That was 11.
balance point. That was balance point.
That was 11.
That was balance point. And that was too much confidence. I was born in 1975, and my body doesn't heal or learn like it used to. But on the inside, I feel like these kids. And I want to be like them.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to.
Somebody ride a wheelie. There he goes. Balance point wheelie right there.
I've been trying to ride wheelies since I got my 650 BMW, back in 2007, but the most I can manage is what I call a torque wheelie. It's also called a power wheelie or chasing the wheelie. It's when the engine is pulling the front wheel up. It doesn't last very long. When the engine runs out of torque, the wheel just comes down. Let's say you were trying to pull a ladder up off the ground. Your body is the engine. You'd only be able to hold it here for a short amount of time until your back gave out. A balance point wheelie can be ridden indefinitely because the front wheel of the bike is being balanced.
Balance point wheelie right there.
Like when you pull the ladder into the balance point, you can hold it there all day because the ladder is balancing.
So I tried to learn this on my 650, which is like a 400-pound BMW that goes 100 miles an hour or whatever. And I f***ed up my bike. I had to replace the whole tail of it and the tail lights and everything. And I was just like, you are too old for this. Yeah, I was doing it in a parking lot.
So now we're doing it 9 years later on an abandoned road.
With you guys, and I brought a butt pad.
Oh, good thing there's a butt pad.
Well, it's made out of
Kevlar.
Amazon
Potatoes.
bubble wrap.
Oh, classic.
These are knee pads.
Oh, good thing to put them on your elbow.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
A lot of kids
start.
do with a like this, and then they go up. Yeah, that feels more comfortable. Oh, geez. Oh,
That
it's
was
just
about-
so scary. It is so scary.
That was about 8 o'clock.
Like that one. It's okay. It's okay. This is why it sucks to be old and do it.
Great.
I didn't know I was going back because my reflexes are so much slower than when those 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
When they're doing it. These threshold crossings, these athletic threshold crossings.
Yeah.
This is how guys f themselves up.
That's what the statue's gonna look like when you do this. I've noticed some things. You're like hunching forward when you're going up. Like you're going up, but like keeping your weight forward. So it's like you're almost like trying to like keep the front wheel down.
Yeah.
You're like up and scared and
I don't
putting
wanna
it
land on my head.
100%.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like your weight and like your gravity is pushing it down. You gotta like ride
Ông thầy dạy này chưa có cảnh nào ông ấy làm wheelie nhỉ?
the throttle and like go up. And I know nothing.
No,
but
no,
I'm
no.
just,
Keep saying it,
I
because you
would
can
say,
see.
like,
I can't see what I'm doing.
you gotta trust your balance
Yeah.
more than the brake. I'd be worried more about my balance going up than I would be braking.
That was my longest one.
How is that no f***ing fear!
I'm getting it. Yeah. That was it. That was balance point. That was balance point. That was balance point.
À,
Day 2. Okay, Johnny, let's do it.
Still leaning forward.
con xe thích cái à?
I had a little there and comfort. One, two. Oh! Ah! I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not injured. I'm hurt. I'm not injured. I'm hurt.
This desire to ride a balance point wheelie is not rational. There's no reason for this. But there's something delightful about the lust for it. Every time that wheel pops up, I get a little shot of terror, and every time I get a half second of success, it's like a fear antidote. It's like panning for gold. Like wheelie fever.
Day 3, I'm solo on a dead-end road. Day 4.
As I get older, I still kind of think.
Setup cam luôn.
As I get
older,
GoPro. I still kind of think young, but increasingly it gets harder and harder to feel young.
I feel close. I feel it.
Day 5.
Whenever a young person insists that I'm not old, you're not old, I just want to smite them. You don't know how it feels to be me.
Sorry, bây giờ bật.
I'm on the edge of 50.
There you are. There you are. Yeah!
This just might be the last bodily dangerous skill I ever learn.
All right. That's it for today.
Man. What are you doing tomorrow?
I hope you're drinking milk.
I think I'm ready for my final exam.
Day 6. All right, so you decide where. This is a good one right here.
Yeah, but I pick.
I know.
Hơn 100 mét. Gần 100 mét. 90 mét.
Yeah. There it is. Oh, there's a car.
5 ngày là
There's a
được.
car, and he almost got it on his first try. Freaking try.
On the 9th attempt of my 6th day, I got it. A balance point wheelie for nearly 100 yards.
I hope you just. I hope you just got that.
But in the footage, you just couldn't see me do it.
Take one, take one.
And then on the 7th day,
6, take 6, take 6. 25, 25, 25, 25. Can't feel it anymore. Can't feel the balance point anymore. Ah, this is driving me so crazy. I'm so upset. I'm so upset.
Cái này gặp nhiều rồi. Tự ra khi mình được một level mới, nó tự dưng đùng và nó rơi xuống. Kiểu cảm giác mình không có tiến triển gì so với ngày đầu ấy. Nhưng mà đùng một cái nó lại ở một cái level mới luôn. Nhưng không, cái đấy mình chưa tìm hiểu là tại sao. Nhưng mà cá nhân mình gặp khá nhiều.
I'm so upset about this. I don't have it. We gotta start over tomorrow.
I just couldn't get it.
Nên để cái não tự xử lý.
Then on Sunday, I tried a wheelie out in the wild without wearing pads.
Take one. This is our 3rd week.
All right, I'm gonna turn on the Smashing Pumpkins.
Car. Who wants that honey?
Yo.
That's it, motherfucker! Yeah! Yeah!
Dùng tao đi không sao. Quay rõ tao nào.
I wanted to learn how to do something new with my old body. And I am by no means a master of the balance point wheelie. But I can do it.
On this week's Patreon-only video,
The idea for this video came from Braxton Haugen, who is not only a Patreon patron of mine, he basically runs the channel. And he said yesterday I should post the original Spirited Man prototype that I made in 2016 in its original form and with director's commentary. This is how it all started.
Mình có thắc mắc là liệu là chuyển sang xe máy hoặc là chuyển sang một cái xe khác thì nó cần bao nhiêu lâu để có thể làm y như vậy trong một độ dài tương tự. Rồi. Lầm khờ mà cũng được đến 42 phút rồi chứ. Xem tiếp này đi. Cái này là Understand Your Dive Bezel.
Watches aren't new, they've been around for over half a century. We could argue dive watches aren't new, they've been around for over half a century. We could argue who launched the first dive watch, but I think that would be a massive discussion for another video. Instead, let's focus on the dive bezel itself, understanding the markings that we have, understand how to actually use the dive bezel, and then know how to identify a real dive bezel. I've got a whole cluster of dive watches and real dive watches here, various different bezels, but there are two main types of dive bezel. You have one that counts up and one that counts down. The vast majority of dive bezels count up. They show elapsed time. They show you how long you've been diving for. Countdown bezels, like the one that you find on the Tudor Pelagos FXD, are actually for navigation rather than timing the dive itself. The most common dive bezel is one that you would find like this one on an Omega Seamaster. This is a unidirectional bezel, meaning it can only go in one way. It's ratcheted so it can't go in the other way. This is a safety feature so that you don't accidentally make it so that your watch is displaying your dives shorter than it actually is. This is obviously a safety thing because you might run out of oxygen. Most dive bezels, just like on the Seamaster and the Submariner, and the vast majority of dive bezels, they go up to 60 minutes. That's typically because it's very rare for you to have a dive that will actually last longer than 60 minutes. 60 minutes is actually a long dive. There are, of course, exceptions to these rules. For example, the Blancpain 50 Fathoms Tech Gombassa has a 3-hour dive bezel. That's because this is for people diving with rebreathers. Not all dive bezels are external either. You can get, this is for people diving with rebreathers. Not all dive bezels are external either. You can get internal dive bezels that are controlled by a crown, just like on the JLC Polaris, but they work in exactly the same way as external dive bezels. So what makes a true dive bezel? For something to be truly a dive watch, it has to meet ISO ratings. The ISO rating for a dive watch is ISO 6425. This states that the watch must have a rotating bezel, which for safety reasons can only be rotated counterclockwise, which can be operated in 30 centimeters of water. Continuous minute markings, and every 5 minutes a clearly legible offset line marking, as well as a luminous triangle mark on the bezel, or depending on the design, on the dial, with which the immersion time is marked. Clear readability of the dive watch from a distance of 25 centimeters in the dark, which is why markings on the bezel, hands indices are provided with a light source, lume. There are many dive watches that don't adhere to all of these specifications laid out by ISO. For example, the Tudor Black Bay Ceramic. Let's check out the markings from those ISO standards. So we've got that triangle at the 0 minute marker, and it's illuminated by the pip in the middle of it. And then we have the various markings around the outside, be it long lines or numerals, indicating the 5-minute intervals of the minutes. On the Seamaster, we also have individual minute markers as these dots around the outside throughout the whole duration.
Không xem, không thú vị. Ôi, giờ xem gì tiếp đây này. Em nhìn mình muốn xem gì nhẹ nhàng quá. Best podcast microphone. Xem gì ta. Xem nào. Xem rồi này. Stargazer. Tại sao lại bị vừa xem? Khá thú vị. Đây là chưa này mình xem này. Nhiều xe quá. Này em quá xem rồi, cái này em quá xem rồi. Này chưa xem nhá. Yeah. Này xem rồi này. Set 63 này. À, sáng nay mình đi chạy, mình thấy một con xe nhạc ML3 có luôn, đúng rồi, xe SUV bán rồi nào. Đây chắc mình nghĩ rất rẻ, về kiểu đời cũ á. Rồi, đúng rồi, 207 rồi, chắc cỡ 900. Xem bao nhiêu? 300. Rẻ thế. 300. Mình nghĩ phải 900 triệu cơ. Ở đây ML 350, mà ML 63. Mũi chết à? ML 350 là xe gì đó? Tìm ML 63 cơ. Nhưng mà con này ML 350 mà. Cái xe này về sửa chết mẹ luôn. Nhưng mà vẫn là vẫn là mẹc. Thì nó là vẫn là một cái gì đấy. V250 xe cũ 60.000, 2 tỷ 300 triệu. LC R250 mẹ, cái năm bao nhiêu đây? 50.000, 19 mà còn 1 tỷ ra. Ôi, 69 đâu. Việt Nam bán 1.900.000. Son à, này cái cáp mà chuyển từ XLR sang 3.5 này. Có hơn 100.000 à? Ra nếu mà có cái mic ngon thì 700.000 là có mic ngon. Nhưng mà bị một cái là nó không. Ồ, nó là cái dây dài luôn này. Dài 3 mét luôn. Một cái dây luôn, ô đỉnh nhỉ. Được thôi chứ, có vẻ nó sẽ work ấy. Chứ không phải ra USB mà ra 3.5 luôn. Nó không hiện giá. Cái này thì biết rồi, cái này mình có rồi, cái này mình đang dùng này. Cái này bao tiền? Mạng mà buổi tối nó bị ngu á. Cái này là mình sẽ xem tiếp này. Clip thì có nhưng mà nó hơi dài và mình bắt đầu hơi mệt nhẹ. Nên là mình muốn xem gì cái gì nó nhẹ nhàng thôi. Xem nốt cái này đi. Có dù cái ở giữa này cái giữa chính là cái của cái em KBD đang dùng. Nên là chắc cũng 500-700 đô. Cái này lát mình off nhé xem, bởi vì xem cái này dễ bị dính bản quyền lắm, nên là cứ phải cẩn thận. Trong lúc đấy mình sẽ thử nha, mà cho nên mình nói này nó tiếng nó ok không, lúc đấy mình sẽ thử nha mà. Mệt nhẹ, nên là mình muốn xem gì cái gì nó nhẹ nhàng thôi. Xem nốt cái này đi, có dù cái ở giữa này cái giữa. Ok, xem nốt cái này nha. Sao này nó không lốt giá cho mình rồi.
Greetings, Earthlings. Today I am back with another episode of What the FAQ, or What the Feck? 19. That video was the 4 best budget podcast microphones. Today, we are going to be looking at the 4 best intermediate podcast mics, the 4 best professional microphones,
SMBB mà còn mới lại intermediate à?
As well as 2 god tier microphones or 2 I have too much money tier microphones, and I will also be including a couple of my least favorite options, as well as a couple of bonus picks. But before I jump into this and start demoing each of these mics, I want to make it abundantly clear that this entire list is purely subjective. It is just my opinion. So do not take this as the end-all be-all. Do not take this as a gospel. This is just one dude's opinion. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with my picks, or what would your top 4 for intermediate and pro be? Make it a MySpace top 8 type thing, and then we can argue back and forth, say, oh, you took me out of your top 8. Let's get to the mic picks, because this is ridiculous. Intermediate microphones. First up on the list is the Shure SM58, which goes for around $100. This is a classic stage handheld dynamic microphone, and I understand that a lot of people dislike the sound of it because they find it too dark, they find it a little bit dull, and I understand that completely. But I personally find it to be a very familiar and comfortable sound, maybe because I've been trained, because I've been hearing this microphone for over half a century. I'm not half a century old, but you get the point. It's been used for over half a century, I believe. But if you don't like darker microphones, you're not going to enjoy it. But another really big pro for this, another really big selling point is the durability. This thing has been run over by buses, everything, and it still functions. It's going to outlast you. So if you need a very durable microphone for your podcast, the 58, you can't go wrong with it. Second on the list is the Sennheiser E835, which also costs around $100. This is another handheld dynamic microphone, and I am sure most of you, as soon as you heard this, said, wow, that's a lot brighter. Exactly. That is why I included this microphone, because if you think the 58 is too dull, a bit lifeless, this is the exact opposite. It gives you that extension into the treble, which really brings it to life. But personally, this does not fit my preferences, but I wanted to include it so I could give you a wide range of sounds at this price point. So second on the list is the E835, in case you want a much brighter sounding handheld dynamic at the $100 price point. Third on the list is the SE Electronics SEV7. This is another $100 handheld dynamic sound to a better. This goes for about $160. The reason I'm including this is in case you like the sound profile of the 58, but you want a little bit brighter of a sound, or maybe you want a super cardioid version of the 58, then this would be the proper option for you. But if you dislike the sound of the 58, chances are you aren't going to like the character of the 58A either. But I wanted to include it so you could have another point of reference and another option to pick from in this price range. And the bonus pick for the intermediate microphones is the Rode PodMic. The reason I'm picking this is even though it's not my favorite sound, I do know a lot of people pick microphones based on look. I think that's a bit silly. I think you should be buying microphones based on the sound profile. But if you are looking for a broadcast-style dynamic microphone around $100, the Rode PodMic is a very good option at this price point. And next, my least favorite option in the intermediate tier costs around $130, and you can see it peeking up from the bottom of the frame. It is the Blue Yeti, and let me explain because I know there are going to be plenty of people pissed off with me for this choice. I don't think that the Blue Yeti is a terrible microphone by any stretch of the imagination. If you are somebody who records at home and needs 4 different polar patterns at $130, that's pretty dang amazing. But the design of this microphone lends to it being misused way too much. The amount of times I have seen people speaking into the top of the Blue Yeti, the amount of times I've seen people speaking into the rear of the Blue Yeti, and the amount of times that I have heard somebody on the omnidirectional polar pattern with a microphone 4 feet away with a bunch of background noise is too many. The Blue Yeti is designed in such a way that it lends to it being far away from the speaker's mouth on the same desk right next to their keyboard with multiple polar patterns which most people don't understand, and that leads to it just getting misused and being the cause of a bunch of terrible sounding audio.
Professional microphones.
First up in the professional tier, we have a microphone that's different than everything we've looked at prior. This is the Audio-Technica AT875R. This is a short shotgun microphone which goes for around $170. And although this may not be the typical pick for a podcast, if you're somebody who does have a need for a shotgun microphone for video and you need to do some voiceover work and record for your podcast, I think this thing sounds outstanding, especially if you get right on top of it. I know some folks may hate that
Nghe hơi khác một chút thật. Hơi chỉ một chút thôi.
Proximity effect. I just think it sounds great, or if you are a couple of inches off, it sounds outstanding. So this is just to offer you something quite different from everything else in this list. Second, on the professional tier, I have a sleeper microphone for you. This is the Beyerdynamic M201TG, and this goes for around $300, and this is labeled an instrument microphone, but I think that it just sounds outstanding for spoken word. The thing that stands out to me about this microphone is first, how smooth it sounds, second, how extended it is up into the treble and air frequencies, and third, the form factor. It is so easy to work with. It works well with accessories. I have an Audio-Technica shock mount here. It works amazingly on that. You can get the A81WS for Shure from Shure, and it fits perfectly on this microphone. And then once you've added all of that, you get this big honkin' microphone, but I think it sounds great. It is a little bit darker, but it still has a bit of that extension into the treble and air, and it maintains that beautiful smooth sound. So that is number 2 on the professional tier. Number 3 needs no introduction. It is the Shure SM7B, and this costs around $400. The reason that I am picking this is because it is so smooth, and in my opinion, it is one of the easiest to listen to microphones. It causes almost zero fatigue on your ears, and for long-form content, I think that is really important. I do understand why people hate it, because it's quiet, you need a good preamplifier to drive it, and secondly, it is so dark, and a lot of people want that condenser, extremely bright and clear sound. I prefer easy to listen to and smooth, and this was my main podcasting microphone for about 3 years. Now I just switch out microphones every single month because I need to test them out, so I don't really have a main microphone, but this is what I used for 3 years straight, and I absolutely love it, but simultaneously, I understand exactly why people hate it. And if that's one of you, no worries, I got another option for you. And number 4 on the list is the Electro Voice RE20. This is quite different sounding from the 7B. You can hear in the top end, it is extended, it is much more open, and this also has something called variable D, which means you don't get a massive change in the low end as you get closer and farther away. It really helps manage the proximity effect. I think that in between the RE20 and the 7B, most people would be perfectly happy with either, but if you like that brighter sound, a little bit more open sound, the RE20 would be the route to go. I do find it to be a little bit less smooth and maybe a little bit sibilant, but nothing terrible, nothing you can't manage. And if you're somebody who hates this puke green color, no worries, they just released a new matte black version, and I know a ton of people who have picked it up and have really been enjoying it. So that is my 4th pick for the professional tier. My bonus pick for the professional tier is the Rode Procaster. This costs around $230, and the reason I'm picking this is I think this is a little bit in between the 7B and the RE20. I would still pick the more expensive microphones over this, the 201, the 7B, or the RE20, but if you're around $200, the Procaster sounds great, it has amazing build quality, and it would treat you really well. But if you are buying this, get a pop filter because it doesn't do well with those. And then for my least favorite option in the professional tier, we have another microphone from Rode. This is the Rode Podcaster, which goes for $230. This is their USB dynamic microphone, same form factor as the Procaster. It cannot be the same internals though, because I think this thing sounds terrible. I will admit, I bought this in 2015 or 2016. I believe they have released a second gen of this, but it is not labeled in any way to differentiate it, so I do not know if there are corrected versions out there. I tried to update the firmware. The software does not recognize this microphone, so based on my experience with this microphone and the price point that it sits at, I think it's unacceptable, and I don't think anybody ought to be buying it, because for $230, you could get the SEV7 and an audio interface and sound exponentially better. This is my least favorite option for obvious reasons.
God tier, bonus microphones.
And number 1 on the God tier or overkill tier or...
Má nhìn bình thường thôi mà mấy nhìn đô á.
I have too much money to spend tier, we have the Neumann KMS-105.
Neumann.
This is a supercardioid or hypercardioid handheld condenser microphone. This costs around $700. It does a great job at background noise rejection because it is designed for stage use, and for that application, they need to design it to do a good job at feedback rejection and bleed from other instruments on the stage, so it does a great job at that, but it gives you that great and rich and fully extended condenser sound, really detailed, really articulate.
Dùng từ rich là đầy đủ, là đúng đấy. Nó rất là kiểu nhiều sắc thái, nhiều màu, kiểu rất là đầy đủ ấy, chứ không bị bóp nhiều quá.
I have seen this on a couple of podcasts, and they are some of the best sounding podcasts I've heard. I have also had people tell me that this is one of the best sounding microphones on my voice. I may disagree with them, but that tells me that this microphone is doing something right. If you're looking for a very small form factor condenser microphone, this thing sounds incredible. And secondly, on the ridiculousness tier, we have the Neumann U87 AI. This costs between $3,200 to $3,600. I don't actually think anybody will buy this. I don't think anybody needs to buy this for a podcast.
Nếu mình nhớ không nhầm là cái này có trong podcast của Bill Gates.
I'm just being a bit of a jerk because I believe NPR did use this for a while, or maybe they still use it for their podcast, because this is a standard VO microphone and they run VO studios essentially. So if you have access to a U87 and a very well-treated room, because this microphone picks up everything, then it's a great option. But if you don't have the disposable income and the well-treated studio, don't even look at it. It will pick that up as well. And that is it for this video. I hope you found that interesting. I will have links to all of these microphones in the description down below, and I will also have them on podcastage.com. If you found this video fun, interesting, or helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up here, or overkill tier, or I have too much money to spend tier.
Rồi, thế chuyển sang nghe cái rẻ nhất. Đây đúng không? Đây.
I'm a $19 Behringer XM8500, which is a $19. Here we have the Neumann.
Không biết, nhưng mà với cái tai châu của mình thì mình thấy là ok, nghe rõ ràng. Còn nếu mà để rich hơn thì cũng khó nói, bởi vì
KMS
nó bị bias ấy.
105. This is a supercardioid or XLR dynamic microphone.
Ngon vãi luôn đấy. Mình nghĩ mình sẽ lấy cái này đây. Không phải mình sẽ lấy, mà là mình sẽ, nếu mà mình mua thì mình sẽ mua cái này thay vì mua cái Samon kia, bởi vì mình thấy ok mà. Mình đây nốt đây rồi. Nốt cái clip được nào. Rồi, hôm nay mình nghĩ là mình live đến đây thôi. Mặc dù là mấy hôm nay không có ai xem cả, nhưng không sao, bởi vì mấy lần trước cũng không có ai xem, chỉ có một bạn mình xem thôi, nên là mình cũng thấy thoải mái. Buổi sau mình nhận cố tìm một cái gì đấy xem, quay lại với cái guồng kiến thức kiểu podcast hay cái gì đấy. Còn buổi mai live đây thôi, hẹn gặp lại vào thứ 6 nhé. Có một điều nữa, đó là tháng 8 năm ngoái mình đi chạy, mình bị tháng 8 hay tháng 6 tháng 7 gì đấy, mình đi chạy, mình bị trẹo chân. Nhưng mà từ lúc đấy thì mình cũng có giảm, nhưng mà về cơ bản là mình cũng vẫn chạy ủng hộ như trước. Hôm nào tuần nào đau quá thì mình mới dừng chạy thôi. Còn đâu về cự ly, hay là về lịch tập thì nó vẫn như vậy. Mình giảm dần cho đến Tết thì mình về mình vẫn chạy. Nhưng mà có một cái là những hôm nào mình chạy nhiều ấy, mình chạy dài mới cỡ mười mấy cây, so với đấy là mười mấy cây này so với mình chạy bình thường nhé, chưa dám chạy hơn trên 20 cây thì là chân mình khi mà đi về sẽ bị đau. Thế là đến cái cách đây khoảng tầm 3-4 tuần thì mình bắt đầu mình quyết định mà mình bị lười nữa. Thế nhân dịp đấy mình mới tận dụng luôn, là mình coi như mình nghỉ một thời gian. Thì đến mình định là bắt đầu từ tháng 6, đầu tháng 6 mình sẽ chạy lại. Vì trong nửa năm đầu tiên, trong 5 tháng đầu tiên mình 2024 này thì mình chạy siêu ít luôn. Thì mình định là phải bắt đầu từ tháng 6 trở đi là mình sẽ chạy nhiều trở lại. Nhưng mà đến thứ Chủ nhật vừa rồi Nhật vừa rồi cũng mít đấy, nhưng mà đến buổi chiều Nhật thằng em mình chạy buổi sáng, nhưng mà đến buổi chiều thì mình mới bắt đầu chạy 7 cây thì cũng thấy không sao cả. À đâu, hôm nay mình chạy 10 cây hay 7 cây nhỉ? Đây, hôm nay mình chạy tụi đây là 7 cây. Hôm nay mình chạy 10 cây nhưng mà mình cũng đi bộ khá nhiều. Thì bắt đầu đến hôm nay là được nghỉ được thứ 2, thứ 3, thứ 4, 3 hôm. Gần 3 hôm, bởi vì là sau mà chạy buổi sáng thì chân thấy lạ lắm. Chân nó thấy kiểu nó bị nặng ấy. Nhưng mà ý nhất hôm nay mình cũng chạy được 7 cây với tốc độ khá ok, 604. Đó là cái mà mình có tiến triển trong vòng tuần này. Tháng 9 sẽ đi Bali, cho nên là mình sẽ cố gắng là tập luyện chăm chỉ từ giờ đến tháng 9 để ít nhất là quay lại được cái guồng đấy. Nếu mà chân không đau thì mình nghĩ là mình chắc chắn sẽ quay lại thôi, chỉ sợ là cái chân nó lại đau trở lại. Nhưng mà cũng khá lâu đấy, cũng phải đến 1 năm rồi mà chân mình vẫn đau. Thế thôi, chào, hẹn gặp lại vào thứ 6. Bye bye.